Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video, and we are back with the Road to 100 12-win classic challenges with Xbow series. So for those of you that aren't familiar with it, this series involves me trying to win 100 12-win classic challenges, getting the times 100 classic challenge badge in the process, while spicing things up by trying out many different versions of Xbow decks. I really love this series, so I'm very excited to be continuing it. As always, absolutely feel free to suggest an Xbow deck that you would like to see featured in this series in the comments below. I have received a lot of your comments already, and I do have some really cool decks that you guys wanted to see in mind for future episodes. So we are currently at 34 out of 100 12-win classic challenges won, putting us at 34% of the way to the big 100. Last time in episode 7 we were able to win a classic challenge with Xbow Musketeer, which is essentially 3.0 Xbow Cycle with Musketeer substituted in for archers. I will link the video for the previous episode in the description below, so feel free to check it out. For today's episode, we are going to be playing Xbow with Elixir Collector, which might come as quite a surprise to some of you. This deck, also known as PumpBow, was actually quite popular back in 2019. The CRL 2019 20-win challenge, which, if you guys didn't know, was the one that had the 20-win goblin emote as the 20th reward. It was actually seen quite a bit in that challenge, and quite a few people did get 20 wins with this. Now, back then, I used to run Barbarians and Barb Barrel, and so you'll see that I have made some changes to the deck. I'm running the Knight, Musketeer, and the Log. Knight and Musketeer are just two really solid defensive options, especially when used in tandem with the Tesla. It's a very versatile setup and can defend almost any push. We do also have the Log here because Log can be really nice to knock things back and also to help with Log spell cycle chip throughout matches. As with all Xbow variations, this one will have some playstyle differences as compared to classic 3.0 Xbow Cycle, and so you may be wondering, what exactly is the usage of the Elixir Collector? Isn't it a dead card, and why would you even run it? And honestly, it is kind of a dead card in a way. Ever since the Earthquake was released, it was just a flat-out 3-for-6 hard counter to the Elixir Collector, where it takes out more than half of the collector's HP, while giving the Elixir Collector player almost no options other than just to not play their Elixir Collector the entire game. Although, in this deck specifically, and in some other decks, Elixir Collector can work by baiting out spells and then using it as kind of a punish. So in this kind of deck, you can bait out spells with the Xbow and with the Musketeer. Say you're in single Elixir and you cycle a Musketeer in the back, if the opponent has a Fireball or Poison kind of deck, they might be inclined to cycle the spell on your Musketeer, in which case you can just place down an Elixir Collector, and it will get a lot of value and your opponent will have basically no response. You can also do the same with offensive or defensive Xbows, in the anti-spell placements for defensive Xbows of course, where if you force out a spell on your Xbow, they will again have no response to the Elixir Collector, and so you can use it freely and get an Elixir advantage against your opponent. Now you will notice that I'm packing two small spells in this deck, the Giant Snowball and the Log, and so unlike most other Xbow decks that run either a Fireball or a Rocket, we won't really have spell cycling capabilities in this deck. We will have to rely on the Xbow to get connections and win that way, since we can possibly cycle our small spells in matches, but they're not going to do as much damage as big spells, and they're also not going to be as effective since you are going to want to use them on defense as well. So the Log does 87 damage and the Snowball does 58. We will still be using them to chip out sometimes, but it's not going to be as effective as, again, a Fireball or a Rocket. Anyway, as you can see, I am 8-2 in my current Classic Challenge, and I have actually won against some really hard counters to this deck, namely Hog Rider Earthquake Cycle with Archer Queen, and Electro Giant Earthquake with a fast cycle and the Archer Queen as well. So, I do believe that this deck has quite a lot of outplay potential in the right hands, as with all Xbow decks really, and that is why I love them. So that's about it for the introduction and deck breakdown. Without further ado, let's get right into the Classic Challenge and try our best to get a nice 12 wins. Alright, so getting into the first match against Alvaro, who is not in a clan, and we do have Skeletons, Xbow, Tesla, and Snowball. I think I will try and see if he's going to make a first play, and if not, I'm just going to cycle my Snowball first play. He's going to have Bats, so this could be a bunch of decks still. He's going to go for Bats and Zap as well. I'm going to cycle my Skeletons and see if he wants to play anything. And he plays an Archer Queen. I'm going to go for an Xbow opposite lane, since Archer Queen is quite a hefty investment, and he might not have enough to support that Archer Queen or Xbow. I'm going to go for a Knight to tank for the Mega Knight and block it. Musketeer as well to DPS down the Mega Knight, and it should also pull the targeting of the Archer Queen, which it does, and so I'm going to Snowball this Archer Queen back, so that the ability gets delayed, and then also go for Skeletons afterwards, and as you can see, our Xbow actually takes the entire tower, and we are going to get a really nice start to this match. I'm going to have to go for a Tesla here, unfortunately, for the bats. My opponent did make a really nice play of punishing us since we did use a snowball on the Archer Queen, but we are still in a really great spot, honestly, and I'm really happy with the start to this match. So we punished the opponent for cycling Archer Queen in the back, and we did lose quite a bit of HP, but we're still in the match for sure. I do think we are going to still be able to win this. And I'm going to cycle an Elixir Collector now. My opponent did just use his Miner, which means his main answer to my Elixir Collector is out of cycle. This is going to be a bit difficult since we are going to have to deal with this push while down some Elixir. So I'm going to cycle a Musketeer in the back first. I do have my Log for his Wallbreakers, Snowball for his Bats. He's going to go for a Print, so I'm going to go for a Knight to take the Mega Knight jump, and then go for Skeletons to tank the Prince charge. Going to go for a Log here as well. And we can get a nice snowball on everything. And then I'm going to go for a Musketeer for the Prince. We are actually going to have to go for a Knight as well. He's going to go for arrows, predicting my Skeleton, so I'm actually really lucky that he made that play, since I would have been down another 3 Elixir if he didn't. But we do have a really healthy Elixir Collector still on the field. As you can see, my opponent is not going to be cycling any miners onto it. Looks like he's just trying to punish us and take our tower. So we're in a defensive Xbow now and defensive Tesla, just set up in full defensive form to hopefully defend this. He's going to go for a Miner now, and zaps our Skeletons. I'm going to go for a really nice snowball on both the Archer Queen and the Bats. Musketeer is DPSing down the Miner, and I'm going to log back this Archer Queen now. It might take out the Musketeer, but it's really not going to be a big deal since the defensive Xbow is helping out big time against it. So I'm going to go for a Tesla now. He is probably going to Mega Knight in front of this Prince, as he does. I'm going to log this back to reset the Prince charge. Thankfully it does work out. I do have Skeletons in cycle afterwards. I also have a Snowball for the Prince and the Wallbreakers, and Tesla takes care of both. And as you can see, we are going to get a really nice first match against Mega Knight Miner Wallbreakers. Defense got kind of tricky at the end, and we did take a bunch of damage, but I think we were able to get a really nice punish at the start. And the Elixir Collector, while it didn't give us too much value, it did kind of allow us to bank 6 Elixir and get rewarded afterwards. So really nice first match. Let's get into the next one and see what we match up against. So we found it against RSC Trueno from Trade. So we have both our small spells in cycle. I might cycle either one of them at the start. Looks like he's not going to play anything, so I'm going to cycle my Log first. Might be risky since if we're against a Log bait matchup, cycling Log is not ideal. He's going to go for a Ghost. So we're going to cycle a Knight now. Knight, really good response to the Ghost, and Ghost tells me that it could be some kind of Bridgespam deck, or possibly a 3 Musketeers deck. He is going to go for a Magic Archer though, and it is a pretty good Magic Archer since it is going to take a lot of damage on my left side tower, but I'm actually going to ignore it and go for an Xbow here, since my opponent is definitely not going to have enough Elixir for a P.E.K.K.A. We did take a bunch of damage again in the left. He's going to go for an E-Wiz. I'm going to go for a Log and Knight to hopefully retarget the Bandit. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, but we still get a decent connection. I feel like if I was able to get the Knight down on time, that would have been a really big punish, but it's alright. We don't have a Knight now, though, for the Royal Ghost, and so that might be problematic. We're going to cycle a Tesla for this Battle Ram, and it looks like we are going to be down a bit of Elixir, so we're going to have to be careful here. I might go for an Elixir Pump to force my opponent to poison it. We'll see. Yeah, I think I am going to go for it. He's going to go for a Ghost, and let's see if he actually decides to support this Ghost or poison. He's actually going to have the Fireball variant, so that's fine as well. We're going to go for Skeletons around the Ghost, and go for an Xbow, since if he chooses to zap this, he will be down quite a lot of Elixir. Exactly. So now we're going to go for a Knight. Okay, that was actually honestly not the best Knight, since I was expecting him to go for either a Bandit or an E-Wiz, but I think it still works. He's going to have a Bandit now coming onto a P.E.K.K.A, and I am going to snowball it back and go for Skeletons as well to protect my Musketeer. That is actually a really nice protection, and Musketeer stays alive just long enough to help. So I'm going to go for a Tesla now for this Battle Ram, and we are actually in a pretty good position, honestly. I'm going to go for a Knight, and we do have to worry about the Magic Archer, but as you can see, I played my Knight kind of in the right lane, since I didn't want him to be able to go for a Magic Archer to snipe me in the left. I'm going to go for an Xbow now, since I have a Musketeer supporting my Xbow. And he did just waste his zap, which means he's not going to have it in cycle for this. I'm going to go for log and snowball. Unfortunately, doesn't take out the Ewiz, but actually the Musketeer helps out and takes it out. And Xbow is going to take out that bandit. He's going to go for a fireball, so I'm actually going to Xbow. I was thinking of going for an Elixir Collector there, but I think Xbow is going to be better. And it is, it looks like. So he's going to go for a Battle Ram and Magic Archer. Going to log this back, and going to go for Skeletons for the Barbarians. And as you can see, I actually used a trick right there to pull the Barbarians out of my Xbow's range. He is laughing, not sure why, since I'm playing Xbow Collector. But basically, what I did was I pulled the Royal Ghost out of range of... I pulled the Barbarians out of range of my Xbow. I'm just going to try and find that moment in the replay just to show you guys. Should be at the very end here. Okay, I went too far. I apologize. Okay, I guess I don't need to show it since you did just watch it after all. But basically, Xbow has a range, and you can pull troops out of the Xbow sight range, which means it'll lock onto the tower instead. That's what I did there, and it's a really useful trick. So take note of that, and it'll really help you out in your Xbow game. But we're at 10 wins now. Only 2 to go for the 12 win. Let's try and keep it going and do our best in a match against a Chinese player. And I might cycle a log here if he doesn't play anything. I think it's fine to play this deck a bit more slowly, since it's not really a super fast cycle deck, nor is it a single elixir punish deck. And he's actually going to go for an Elixir Golem, which could be kind of scary for us, not going to lie, since we don't have a fireball. We do have a snowball, which is kind of a budget fireball in this situation, but it is still going to be pretty scary. Musketeer will be pretty good for DPS. I'm going to go for a Knight as well. And yeah, this is going to be pretty tricky. I'm going to go for Skeletons and then log all of this back to hopefully get Elixir. And I'm going to go for a Snowball as well. And Inferno Dragon is onto the Musketeer, so not the best Knight by me actually. I should have probably activated King actually, that would have helped me big time. But if the opponent ignores this Knight, he'll still get some pretty decent chip damage on his tower. And it does, and I mean, we took quite a bit. But I think the defenses will be easier once we go later into the matches as well, considering we are going to have to cycle multiple Musketeers if we want to defend this. I'm going to go for a log first, and I think a Tesla afterwards. Let's go for a Tesla. I didn't want Elixir Collector up there, by the way, because I know he's going to build a huge Eagle and push, and I will probably lose if I'm down that much Elixir. So, going to go for a Knight now. Doesn't pull the E-Drag back. Gonna go for a Snowball and everything. Log as well. And looks like we are actually going to do a pretty good job at defending that. We are actually going to go for an Xbow here since we have a surviving Musketeer. And he should be pretty low in Elixir, so he might have E-Barbs or something. This deck usually does run Elite Barbarians, I believe. Looks like he's just going to let the Xbow take out his tower though and maybe go for another huge push. And he is, so if we are able to defend this, we won't even need to use the Elixir Collector in this matchup. I think that's going to be the game plan, since again, he's building a huge push. It doesn't make sense for us to go for Elixir Collector, since we don't really want to bank Elixir. We need it right now to defend against all of this. So I'm going to go for a Knight and Skeletons as well, and go for a log, Snowball and everything to snowball it back. And we are actually going to get a pretty nice defense. Again, like I said, we're going to need to cycle multiple Musketeers. We did just that just now. And I could go for an Xbow with this Musketeer. I think I will, but I'm going to set up a Tesla first, since if my opponent goes for an E-Golem in the left, I do want to be able to respond to that as well. And it looks like he actually might have given up, so that is going to be really nice for us, actually. Oh, so really nice win against Elixir Golem. I was honestly pretty worried at the start, I'm not going to lie, when he took quite a bit of our tower with that huge E-Golem push. And actually looking back, maybe I should have snowballed earlier on, since it did kind of slow down his push, and I did it the second defensive sequence if you saw, so I think it was a lot more effective, but we were still able to defend that, and I think that is actually going to be a pretty decent matchup for us. Elixir Collector, we didn't need to play it once there, but honestly, not the worst, since we were still able to get a tower. But that's going to put us at 11 wins. Pretty nervous, since 11 wins and 2 losses is going to be a make or break game, but let's try and do it and get that nice 12-win Classic Challenge. So queue time here was taking a bit, and we're in a game against Bold Hungary from BMG Royale. So I might cycle a log here again if he doesn't play anything, and I think I will. So I go for a log here, and he's going to cycle a witch. So I'm going to go for a musketeer, which is honestly pretty scary since this could be something like Giant Graveyard. And if it is, I think it's going to be a really tough matchup. But we'll see what it's going to be. I think I am going to go for an Elixir Collector since I do have kind of a stalemate situation, and it looks like it is going to be Giant Graveyard, which is going to really suck if it is. So I'm going to go for a Skeleton King Graveyard here. So I'm going to go for a Knight, and I'm going to have to get a nice late log back on all these Graveyard Skeletons, and then probably Snowball as well. They are stacking up quite a bit. He's going to go for a Freeze, actually, which doesn't really do a lot. I mean, it kind of froze, and it took a bunch of damage, but I was still able to get a decent defense going with the log. And I'm going to go for an Xbow now because, okay, he's going to have Zappies. That is actually pretty unfortunate for us as a start, since Zappies are going to be pretty annoying. I think I'm going to cycle Skeletons for them, and then go immediately for another Elixir Collector. So my opponent is playing Graveyard Freeze, and it looks like he might not have a good answer to the pumps. He is, I'm going to say wow, because he just activated our King Tower when he's playing Graveyard, and that is a pretty bold move to make. I guess that is the benefit of Elixir Collector as well. I kind of played it near to my other one, and it forced my opponent to use arrows, but he did mess up and activate my king. But I am still honestly pretty worried about this matchup, since Graveyard is, I would say, one of this deck's more difficult matchups for sure. So I'm going to try and cycle back to my log here for the skeletons that are piling up. Musketeer is actually staying alive, which is pretty nice. And Tesla's going to help out as well. I'm going to go for an Xbow now since we have, again, a counter-pushing Musketeer. And he's going to go for a Skarmy. I'm going to go for Snowball and Musketeer. Skeletons for the Inferno Dragon, and he's probably going to freeze here if I had to guess. So he's actually going to go for arrows, and that's fine. I think I'm going to reset with an Elixir Collector, since why not? If I keep going, he might go for a Skeleton King or something, and I don't really feel very confident in defending that. So he's going to go for a Graveyard here. Activated King Tower, actually helping out huge, so he's going to freeze everything up. I'm going to go for a late Snowball, and he's going to activate the Skeleton King ability, which is going to be pretty scary, especially with the Skarmy, but I do have the Musketeer helping out. I'm going to go for a Knight as well, since it looks like that is a huge swarm, and I'm going to go for an Xbow now, since I have quite a lot of support. He's going to go for a low Witch and Zappies. I'm going to go for a log and Snowball as well. Get really nice tower damage with both. He's back to a Skeleton King, but I'm going to go for a Knight. As you can see, I have 2 Musketeers on the field right now. He's going to be forced to freeze, which means he's going to be real low on Elixir. Going to go for another Xbow, and he's going to arrows, which means he's going to be even more low on Elixir, and that is just going to be a huge overwhelm. So, honestly speaking, I'm not sure about that matchup. I feel like it might be in my favor, since that is it's a Graveyard deck, and if you look at our deck, we don't really have any good Graveyard answers. We have the Musketeer, which is okay, but it's definitely not anything like the Archers. We have a log and a Snowball to reset them both and kind of help against the piled up skeletons, but that is still not going to be really a great answer to the Graveyard. But the one thing that helped us out big time was the fact that my opponent had Freeze and not something like a Poison or a Fireball, which means he had no answer for my Elixir Collector. So this matchup actually really exemplifies how good the Elixir Collector can be in some matchups. I would say Balloon Freeze, any kind of freeze deck or no big spell deck, it can really shine since they really don't have any answers. And I guess it's kind of an RNG card in a way, since if they don't have answers to it, it's not really the best. I mean, I don't think it's great design to have a card that they either have a lot of answers to or don't. But, I mean, Elixir Collector, there are still a lot of answers in this game, and if you are playing a freeze deck, you are kind of actively choosing not to play a big spell, I guess. So, really great win, though. I'm really happy with it, especially at the end, where I was able to really keep up my offensive pressure and kind of overwhelm my opponent, especially because I had so much Elixir with my pumps, and also the fact that my opponent accidentally activated my King Tower with his arrows early on, which was, he got a really nice push early on, since again, like I said, I have pretty bad defense against Graveyard, but if they activate the King Tower, that's a whole different story. And also defensive Xbows are pretty good in that matchup, I feel like, since they have a freeze, but since they do also have the Inferno Dragon, I feel like maybe you need to cycle Musketeers more. But anyway, that's enough rambling. That is a really nice 12 win. I'm actually really proud of this one, since I'm pretty happy with how I played, and there were some really hard matchups earlier on let's open up the 12-win chest. We actually get a legendary wild card, which is amazing. I don't think I've gotten one from a classic challenge before, so I'm actually going to screenshot that. But Zaps as well, Bomber, Hog Rider, and Lightning. But I mean, really nice chest, honestly. We got the legendary wild card, which is just amazing. Really happy to get that. I mean, classic challenge only costs 10 gems, so that is really cheap for a legendary card. But yeah, that's going to be a 12-win. Really nice 12-win. I did get this. I was playing some classic challenges for fun earlier on with different decks, but I still want to mainly stick to Xbow, of course. So this one was a really great 12-win with Xbow Pump. I'm going to share that actually because I'm really happy with it. But yeah, that's going to be the video, guys. That is Xbow with Elixir Collector. So I think this deck is honestly pretty weak, but it can still have some success if you play it really well. For example, what I was talking about before, these matchups I lost to, this deck was honestly pretty hard to deal with because I didn't have a Fireball, so I didn't have a way to respond directly to his Magic Archer, didn't have a way to respond directly to his Archer Queen, and he just really overwhelmed me in single Elixir. And I mean, if I went for an Elixir Collector, he could have just spammed the bridge, and I would not have had the adequate tools to defend it, especially with the Heal Spirit. I mean, Heal Spirit's honestly such a good card sometimes, especially against skeletons. If you don't log it back, it just invalidates your skeletons and gets a lot of value, so really hard matchup. And then MK Round Rider Lightning, one of the best decks in the game, if not the best deck in the game right now, and also obviously a super hard matchup for this deck since they do have the Lightning, and they do just have a lot of cheap pressure like Bandit, Royal Ghost. I did actually make an analysis video against P.E.K.K.A Round Rider Lightning with 3.0 Xbow Cycle if you guys want to watch that. It is on my channel as well. But yeah, this was a really bad matchup too. But I'm really happy with the games we got, honestly, really happy with how we played. So that's going to be the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you take care.